Shalom, giving all glory and honor and praise to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, Bahasham Yahawashi, double honor to the elder apostles of great millstone who rule well in teaching this 100% truth. Shalom and salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children, part of the elect, the great multitude. I'm your brother Magun Shalamar. The title of this video is He Disappointed the Crafty so that they cannot perform their enterprise. This professor is going into how Donald Trump is probably trying to sabotage America by going into all these wars, and just maybe he's actually doing a great job if his whole idea is to bring in their new world order. And so, the men of great millstone, beginning with the elder apostles on down, been saying that all along, is that this Jacob's trouble we're in is going to get worse and worse, and it's going to eventually crash this economic system that we have in America and the petrodollar across the whole entire world, where they're going to bring in the new world order, which is the micro C-hip. And that's coming from the small hats, who's actually the ones in charge of Donald Trump and the rest of these governments set up on earth. So we're going to let this video play. Fair use, not for monetary gain, but for educational purpose only. Fair use.
About an hour ago, Donald Trump addressed the American people. This follows an address from Prime Minister Albanese of Australia to his people, as well as Prime Minister Starmer to the British people. And in both speeches by Starmer and Albanese, they said to the people, we know that fuel prices, gas prices are going up, and we should expect more pain, but we will do as much as we can to ensure that your wallet is not too impacted. Donald Trump, in his address to the American people, basically said that this war will continue, and America may start to bomb energy and oil infrastructure of Iran. Okay, so let's listen to a few of his words.
Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Okay, so he's basically saying that we're winning this war and we will bomb them to the Stone Ages, which tells us he's actually not winning this war. Okay, now I also want to look at another person who is Peter Hegseth.
New strategic map.
So remember, this war in Iran, it's not ending. In fact, many people believe it's only starting to ramp up. So there are rumors that Donald Trump has already authorized the use of ground forces. And so we could see an invasion of Iran as early as this weekend, but certainly, definitely this month, okay? But while America is fighting this war in Iran, this is the Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, and he's announced that America will control all North America.
From Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global south. It is a security perimeter in this great neighborhood that we all live in.
Okay? So basically, what he's saying is we will enforce the Monroe Doctrine in North America. So it sounds very strange to people in that Donald Trump is fighting this war in Iran that's not really winnable. At the same time, he is being aggressive in North America. He's seeking fights with Canada, with Denmark over Greenland, with Colombia, with Mexico, with Cuba. In fact, he's embargoing Cuba right now, and people expect possibly an invasion of Cuba very soon. So people just think that Donald Trump is all over the place and he's idiotic, okay? So this is Iran, and everyone says that a ground invasion of Iran would be stupid because it is much too large to invade. Right now, America has only about 50,000 troops in the Middle East, and the geography, the terrain, makes it very hard to control, okay? So you have these mountains, the Zagros Mountains, which allows for the Iranians to hide and conduct guerrilla warfare and use drone strikes and artillery strikes. And then you have the desert, which makes it very hard to cross, okay? So even if the Americans were to attack from here, from Iraq, they would have to face the mountains. If they were attacked from Pakistan, from the east, they would have to face deserts, okay? And if they were to attack from the south, they would face all these mountains. And also you're far away from Tehran, which is ultimately your objective. Okay? So there's lots of conversations about what the Americans are trying to do. Right now the consensus seems to be the Americans first want to control the Strait of Hormuz in order to elevate the strain on the global economy, okay? But as you can see from this map, first of all, the strait, it's not very wide, and it's very close to the Iranian coastline in the mountains, so it's easy to attack from. And there are these, and then the Iranians can put mines all around the strait as well. So what everyone tells us is that an invasion of Iran would just be idiotic. But at the same time, the Americans need to free up the Strait of Hormuz and allow for maritime navigation in order to stabilize the global economy, okay? Already we're seeing lots of signs that America is preparing for a long, long war. So there are already 50,000 troops in the Middle East, and a lot of them will be deployed against Iran. But also, there's a letter from Leonard Anderson to reserves, telling them we must get ready to deploy, fight, and win. Okay? So not only have they sent 50,000 troops to the Middle East, but they're preparing to call up the reserves as well. Okay? So this seems as though America is preparing for total war. Polymarket is a very interesting place to understand how global events will turn out, okay? And so there are three indicators that, in fact, a war is coming, a ground invasion is coming. First of all, the pizza index is exploding. What does this mean? It means that in the Pentagon, when they're preparing to launch a ground invasion, they need to work overtime. And so they call for pizza, okay? And so pizza deliveries are going up. Gay bars are empty, okay? So when people are, don't have much to do, they go and, go on dates. The last is that people are making bets, large bets, that a ground invasion will happen, okay? So these are people who have inside information, and so they go on Polymarket and make a bet that this will happen, knowing it will happen. So this guy bet $200,000 that a ground invasion will happen, and if it turns out a ground invasion does happen, he will win over $1 million. Okay, so these are three very good indicators that a ground invasion has been approved and it will happen very, very soon. Okay, Donald Trump himself has said many, many things. Okay, so he said that, you know what, if we leave the Middle East, it's not our problem. We don't really care, okay? And he also says that, hey, NATO, It's your responsibility to open the Strait of Hormuz because we told you so and because you need the oil. And of course, NATO is angry at Donald Trump because previously Donald Trump threatened to take over Greenland. Okay, so everyone thinks Donald Trump is just a moron. He doesn't plan ahead because before this war in Iran, where he needs the help of NATO, he was pissing off NATO by threatening to take over Greenland. So Donald Trump is over the place. He's just a moron, right? But let's just assume, okay, that the ground invasion goes ahead. What will happen? Well, as I predicted before, if a ground invasion were to go ahead, first of all, America would lose this war because the ground invasion would fail, and the Iranians are fully prepared for a ground invasion. Second of all, if America loses this war, the American empire would die because we'd be forced out of the Middle East. They would lose the petrodollar and the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And the third thing is the global economy would collapse. So clearly, Donald Trump is the worst president in human history. And he's a complete buffoon, right? Okay, but let's put our thinking caps on. Okay, let's use game theory and say, but what if, for some strange reason, Donald Trump wants to lose this war in Iran? What if he wants the American empire to collapse? What if Donald Trump wants to destroy the global economy? Then he'd be a genius, right? Right? He's a moron because he's going to destroy the American empire, but if he actually wants to destroy the American empire, then the man is the greatest American president ever, okay? Okay, so we're gonna have a fun class today, and we're gonna make the argument that in fact, Donald Trump is a genius. That in fact, all this chaos is purposeful. That there's actually a plan behind all this, okay? That's the argument I want to make to you today. And so the grand plan for America is something called the Technate, okay? Sorry. This is something we'll discuss more later on, okay? But first I want to introduce this idea to you, the Technate. And the Technate is very simple. It's the idea that, you know what? Yes, the world is going into chaos. The world is collapsing. But North America is self-sufficient. Right? So these past few months, Donald Trump has picking a fight with Denmark over Greenland, right? He's been threatening Canada. He's been threatening Mexico. He's been threatening Colombia. He's taking over Venezuela. He's been threatening Cuba. He's been threatening Honduras, Nicaragua. Why is he doing this? Because they're all part of the grand vision for Greater North America. Okay, what Peter Hegseth calls Greater North America. The Technate. All right? And this is a response to Moscow's Third Rome. If Moscow is going to build this grand alliance in order to weather the storm, then America has no choice but to also build this grand alliance as well in order to protect itself in this coming storm. All right? So what Donald Trump has recognized is that Putin is right. The world is collapsing. There's nothing we can do to save the world. So let's just accelerate it in a way that allows America to benefit from this collapse. Okay? So by collapsing the GCC, by collapsing the Middle East, you make Asia and Europe now dependent on North American energy and fertilizer exports. And this allows you the resources, the motivation to create the Technate, okay? This self-sufficient economy, okay? Does it make sense? All right, okay. All right. So let us summarize, okay? So in September 11th, 1991,
So we got the idea, which we know is going to be the New World Order going to be given for them to bring in across this whole entire world. So yeah, that's pretty much what's happening in this world. And that war that Donald Trump has put himself in, or put America into, is not going to be that quite easy just to go over there and fight against these people, because it's going to, either way, it's going to require a lot of money that America, just going to make America go further and further in debt. And that's what these small hats want. They want this economy to crash so they can bring in that new world order. But what Professor Yang ain't understanding is that it's not really Donald Trump. It's actually the small hats. It's these devils that's behind him that's pushing this to happen. It's right there on our dollar bill. Noto Ordo Seclorium, New World Order. That's always been their entitlement, is to bring in the New World Order. And this is the opportunity that we believe that they're going to take advantage of to bring in that New World Order. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 4. It says, "And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lawyer." And that cruel lord is Donald Trump. We know him to be as Nero, and Egypt is talking about America, which is known as spiritual Egypt, because America is goes by different names: spiritual Egypt, Babylon the Great, Sodom and Gomorrah, Assyrians, land of the Chaldeans, or daughter of Babylon. It got a lot of names that America is called under in the Bible, but this is future prophecy. And it says, "And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, the Lord of all hosts." He has an army of chariots, army of holy angels that Yahawah can't wait to come back down here and use to destroy this place called Babylon the Great, and also put down Esau's kingdom, his rulership here on earth. Because once them bullets start to fly, and once those ICBM missiles starts to fly and come to America, it's going to be done. It's going to be over with, because Yahawah is coming in the middle of that war, and he's going to destroy this kingdom, Esau's kingdom. This is Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 12. It says, "If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked." And we know that, again, the ruler is actually the small hats. It's not Donald Trump. He's the one who's in control. They're the ones who's in control. And all the governments across this world is doing the bidding for the small hats. And that bidding right now is going on is the New World Order. This is Psalms chapter 12 and verse 8. It says, "The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted." And who is exalted? Again, the small hats. They're the ones exalted. Esau, Edom. They're in control of this world, man. So on every side you can look at it on every side of the government, the Republican side, the Democrat side, is nothing but wicked, because you can go back to the Apocrypha. It tells you that when Esau came into power under the Alexander the Great, once he gave his power to his 4 generals, then wickedness multiplied on this earth. So since Esau been in power, man, it's nothing but pure wicked. So we can't expect anything to be righteous under Esau's government, under his rulership here on earth. Yahawah has to return and destroy his rulership first, his kingdom, and set up his kingdom here on earth. This is Job chapter 5 and verse 12. It says, "He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise." You see that? So the crafty is the small hats. Their enterprise is to get this New World Order started, which is the MOTB, the micro C hip. And so once this Salakia. All right, Salakia about that. Again, Job 5 and 12, it says, "He disappointed the crafty the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And the small hats, their enterprise is talking about the New World Order, which is the micro C-hip, to plan on getting the whole entire world chipped so that the world be slaves under the small hats, you know. This is Jeremiah chapter 12. Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 1, it says, "Righteous art thou, O Yahawah, when I plead with thee, yet let me talk with thee of thy judgments. Wherefore doth the way of the wicked prosper?" And that's been the question. How did these Esau, Edom, so-called white men, how they prosper? They're the wicked. Wherefore are all they happy that deal very treacherously? Right, because Esau hasn't been judged yet. And the rest of these nations, they haven't had that cup of trembling, that cup of fury, handed through by the hands of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. We have. He's taken that cup from our hands. He said he would no more give us that cup of his fury. It says, "Thou hast planted them, yeah, they have taken root. They grow, yeah, they bring forth fruit. Thou art near in their mouth and far from their reins," right? Because they have taken root, meaning ever since they've been in power, been in this rulership here on earth, because they've been blessed with the sword, and the Lord gave them the power to rule this earth on the left-hand side because they're the wicked. Everything is taking root, meaning everything is squeezed out. Every righteousness is just everybody is Proverbs chapter 29, I believe, when it says when the wicked is in power, when the wicked is in power, the whole earth mourn, right? So this is where it's at with this devil. It says, "But thou, O Lord Yahweh, knowest me. Thou hast seen me and tried my heart toward thee. Pull them out like sheep for the slaughter, and prepare them for the day of slaughter." And that's the cry of all the so-called hopeful elect. That's our prayer, man. Is to end this devil reign on this earth. Where we have them in chains, where we have had the small hats, beginning with the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Murdochs, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers. Put their ass in slavery, man. Get them prepared for that day of slaughter, like a sheep being prepared for the day of slaughter. It's Isaiah 14 and verse 21. It says, "Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land." Right, because wherever they go, they're going to spread their wickedness. They are wicked. You can't have them with you, because wherever they are, in their mindset, they're going to want to call the land after their own names. So that's why those other so-called Israelite groups out here trying to say all the heathen nation can't be saved, they already took the bag from the small hats, because they doing their bidding. Because we know wherever the wicked are, they're going to rule, and it's going to be nothing but rooted wickedness. And Yahawashi ain't going to have that. He's going to destroy them, and once they destroy it, that's it. Ain't no coming back from that. Ain't no 1,000 years later Esau going to come back into power and going to fight against the children of Israel again. Man, IUIC don't know what the hell they talking about, because the Heavenly Father is going to be there. His only begotten Son is going to be there. It says, "So prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, said Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi." See that? So with that, I pray you was edified. Call hello, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, Bahasham Shalom.